A lot of impetus then for the right, but a big caveat to that, and I think if you've been watching over the last couple of understands, you'll understand that it is very, very hard to predict. And Ketevan Gorgistani, international affairs editor, is with us. Explain to us why then, because it is very complicated, isn't it?
Well, there are two main reasons why it's complicated. First of all, the two-round French electoral system in the parliamentary election makes it complicated anytime because it's two rounds, so the two leading candidates go into the second round, but they're not alone because they can be joined by any other candidate that reaches a 12.5% threshold of registered voters. And that is important because in general, it's a pretty tough threshold to reach if you're not in the top two. But when you have a turnout like we've had this time around, which is at around 65%, that 12.5% of registered voters, much easier to cross. And that is why you have officially around 300 cases where you'll have at least three candidates in the second round. They're called triangular second rounds, three candidates, but you also have several quadrangulars with four candidates going into the second round. So that makes it already hard to predict how these things are going to split. And then you add to that this idea of désistement, which is candidates who are officially qualified for the second round, but who decide to step away from the race, to give up on their chance in order to prevent one or the other party from winning that seat. Most of the time, in this case, it's going to be trying to block the National Rally from winning that seat. So you'll have, for example, candidates, and it's already happened, candidates from Macron's alliance who are stepping down because they're third in the race, and they're letting the left-wing coalition, giving them the biggest chances of being able to beat the National Rally. And same thing where the left-wing coalition candidate is in third place, stepping down also. And so that creates even more uncertainty because you don't know how these votes are going to split in the end, especially because you can step down, you can have your party asking you to step down, but in the end, it's the voter that decides. And some polls show that a very broad majority of voters decide on their own and don't necessarily follow the logic of these so-called changes in voting and voting blocks. So all of that is why you're seeing these sort of wide margins of whether or not the far right is going to have the absolute majority, a big majority, or a slim majority.
So far, though, the left seems to be being a little bit clearer about giving advice to its voters about who they should vote for. Those voters who voted for Emmanuel Macron, it's a little less clear, isn't it?
Exactly. The left-wing coalition, the France Unbound, is one of the parties in this coalition with the Socialists, with the Greens. Their leader came out very quickly, Jean-Luc Mélenchon, after yesterday's result, and he was extremely clear. Not a single vote to the National Rally. And if you are one of our candidates and you're in third place behind Macron's alliance, you need to step away because we cannot have the National Rally winning that seat. For the government, Gabriel Attal, the prime minister, came out and said not a single vote for the National Rally and called for an alliance of democratic candidates. And so you're already seeing some of those candidates of Macron's alliance stepping away in order to allow the left-wing bloc to have better chances of beating the National Rally. That said, within Macron's alliance, the right wing of that alliance is not exactly on the same page, and there are some disagreements, specifically when it comes to candidates who are not, for example, from the Socialist Party, but who are from France Unbound. And some on the right wing of Macron's coalition say we need to look case by case who is that candidate of the left-wing bloc. If it's the Socialist Party, no problem, we will step aside. But if it is France Unbound, we need to look exactly at who it is and then make our decisions, some even going as far as saying the left bloc or the far right bloc, both are bad, we need to stay in. So you're seeing a sort of mixed messaging, and it looks like Macron's alliance is trying to figure things out today because the deadline for those candidates is going to be tomorrow at 6 p.m.
Ketevan, thanks very much. Ketevan Gorgistani, international affairs editor.